Hey guys, it's Dave. The good news is that I'm back from my 2-week honeymoon so we can return to our regularly scheduled content. The bad news is that I'm back from my honeymoon and now I've got to return to work and no longer traveling the world, unfortunately. Good to see you guys though. Happy to be back. I know I've missed a lot over the past few weeks. I did schedule a couple videos while I was off, and yeah, Rocket Lab just continues to have a really great run and a really amazing summer. So I just wanted to make a quick video to get back into the swing of things, talking a little bit about the current movement of the stock, what my plan is for what comes next, and just any other thoughts I might have. I also love to hear from you guys, gather feedback, because believe it or not, like some comments I get from YouTube videos actually do, make me think and realize, oh, I didn't think about that, and they do sometimes factor into my decision-making process. So thank you guys all for the comments as well. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you'll consider doing that by the end of the video. If you're not new here, thank you for continuing to watch, and those thumbs ups help as well. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into our discussion on the state of Rocket Lab stock. Here we are with the Rocket Lab stock chart, and clearly it's been quite a good 6 or so months for us Rocket Lab shareholders. Congratulations to you if you are a Rocket Lab shareholder and you're back in the green now, as I am as well. Before we take a more in-depth look at the chart, I just want to share my own Rocket Lab position. Not because I love putting this out there and I just want to brag or anything, but I think it's very important for YouTubers to be very transparent if they are covering investments, because too often people will only share their gains, hide their losses, or, say after the fact what their position was. And I just want to be completely open so everyone knows where we stand, and I try not to hide my mistakes either, because I think that's all part of the learning process. So all that being said, here is the quick chart with my position on Rocket Lab. Up at the top right, it says that I am long. I have 15,190 shares at a cost basis of 4.355. Current price of the stock is 7.37, so I'm doing pretty well on it right now. In terms of the numbers on that, here you can see again the position size. The market value is now $111,700, and the unrealized profit on that is $45,000. So $45,000 profit on a $66,000 investment. Not too bad. It's no AST Space Mobile right now, but I'm fine with that, and I'm pretty happy with the return at this point. Also interesting, in case you're following this option trade I did make a while back where I bought a leap call option as opposed to just shares, we can see that the call option itself has actually almost tripled as opposed to the stock, which is more like almost a double. So the outperformance is very real when it comes to the call option. Of course, the trade-off there is it's much riskier, and if the stock stayed flat or didn't go up enough, I would lose everything, which is still obviously possible if it drops back down before January of 2026. I don't think it will. That's why I bought the option, but just fun to track how the things move differently here. And I will circle back to talking about options trading later as well. Looking at the stock, obviously a great run-up, as I said, and the question becomes at this point, what do you do, right? When you're owning a stock that has run up 70+% in a matter of maybe 4 months, you have to ask yourself, do I sell? Do I hold? Do I even buy more? Because I really believe it's still undervalued at this point. And of course, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that down below as well. But I just wanted to talk about where I sit right now. So I'm up a good deal. The interesting thing about weddings, you guys may be aware, is you got to pay for everything up front, but then you get the gifts after the fact, which at least in my case usually came in the form of cash. So now that the stock is up, I'm actually sitting on a bit of cash I could deploy, whereas before, when the stock was lower and I really would have loved to buy more shares, I didn't have the cash. So that's frustrating, but it is what it is. And what am I going to do about it? Am I going to just throw the cash into Rocket Lab right now? Well, I could, and I'd probably be fine with it in the long run. If we roll back to my Rocket Lab valuation spreadsheet that I made on a video a while back looking at what I think fair value is for the company. We're actually still below fair value, so depending on various metrics, you could come out to different numbers, but using what I felt were relatively conservative numbers, I thought you could easily argue that the stock should be worth, you know, $10 to $12, $13 today. And, you know, we've gone from 3.5 to over 7 at this point. So we're still under fair value, and therefore, you know, I would probably be okay, at least fair value in my opinion. So I'd probably be okay throwing the cash into Rocket Lab, but I also never like buying stock in a company that has just doubled in short order. It just never sits well with me as an investor, and usually when I do it, it doesn't actually work out well. There have been some notable exceptions. I bought Nvidia shortly after it did extremely well, was at 52-week highs, and then as I've said previously, it more than doubled from there, almost a triple even. And then, of course, if you were an AST investor and you bought at, say, $4 after a double, you're still laughing today as we're talking about it being like $30. But more often when a stock doubles, eventually you get a little bit of a pullback, some consolidation. A lot of this is going to depend on the overall macro markets as we're looking at the first rate cut hopefully coming up soon from the Fed. A lot of discussion on whether that will be 50 points or 25 points, and that could have a big impact on the overall market. I still think 25 points probably more likely, but if we get a surprise 50-point cut, that could really send stocks ripping higher. I'm going to hold on to my cash for a little while. I don't necessarily expect us to drop back down to, say, the mid-4s. Certainly it could happen. We've seen it before, right? If we look at the chart and zoom out a little bit further, a while back, it did jump all the way up to $8 per share and came back down to 4 and even below 4. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that it happens again, in my opinion. Hope it doesn't, of course, because I've got plenty of shares. But if it does, man, I'm ready to pull the trigger on even more buys. So for me, it's a win-win. If it drops that low again, you better bet I'm buying heavy. If it doesn't drop that low again, you know, I've got plenty of shares, but I do have some dry powder available. Also, I'm not an expert on the technicals by any means, but I do have to say that zooming out on the chart and looking at the big picture from when they went public, it does look to me like we are still inside this channel that we've been in for the past couple years, kind of touching the same level that we hit back in July of 2023. We've really been in this channel for a couple years now. And it'll be very interesting to see over the next few weeks whether really we break out of that range going beyond the previous highs or not. Again, this is just my basic high-level technicals stock at a glance, but I'm sure there are other people out there who really dive into the technical analysis at a much deeper level. Do keep in mind, though, there is a chance it bounces off this line and kind of stays in this channel for a while longer, but I do think it's only a matter of time, whether it's a neutron launch or something else that really gets us past that low to mid 7s. And what I would like to do, actually, is I've never in my life made like a really big options play. You know, I make some relatively safe options plays where I've generated some income selling covered calls or selling puts, cash secured puts, and I make like a little $500 extra in a month or something like that. But I've never taken like a really big swing at a really big return. And seeing as how I have a good number of shares and I don't really feel comfortable buying right now after a double, even though I very well could, and maybe that's to my detriment. I just don't have the great psychology yet for an investor, but I just can't bring myself to buy at these levels, and I don't blame you if you do, because as I said, to me it's still undervalued compared to where fair value should be today. But I'm going to hold on to my dry powder, and if it drops back down to, say, the 5s, maybe high 5s, maybe I get lucky, it drops back down to the 4s, I think I'm gonna make a big swing and basically buy a ton of Leap call options. We saw from the screenshot before that the call options will generally outperform the stock if you get a move upwards. Of course, if it stays flat or goes down, it will severely outperform the stock. So definitely high risk, but I don't have really need for this cash on a short or medium term basis, and if I lost it, my finances would be completely fine. Luckily, I'm doing very well, relatively speaking at least. So I feel comfortable basically risking a decent chunk of change in a big options trade. I know you might call me irresponsible that way and to just buy the stock, but I kind of feel like if my conviction's there and I've done the research, like I've been looking at this company for how many years now, I feel like I've done the research and I feel like my conviction's there that if it drops back down to 5 or even 450 or, you know, God forbid, 390 again, like I could just buy a ton of long-term call options as far out as they'll go. So whether that is, we're talking late 2026 or maybe by then 2027, buy like some big call options, maybe I'll look at the different strikes and what kind of prices I can get at that time and see if I can really multiply my returns like 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, because I think it'd just be fun. It'd be exciting to watch. It would be really cool. You know, if I lose it all, it will suck, of course, but I can certainly handle it. And it will be a fun ride, that's for sure, and a company that I really believe in. So if I'm going to lose money on something, you know, I'm okay with it being on Rocket Lab. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now. Let me know what you're doing. Are you feeling comfortable adding more shares at this level, given that it's already doubled? I know a lot of people out there have. Are you selling because you've already had such a good gain, like my fiance did? And by the way, no, she didn't get a chance to buy back in because she thought it might go a little lower to maybe $5 per share, and it really hit like $5.95. So obviously that's the double-edged sword of trying to make the trades and expect that it's going to drop back down and get to those levels. Yeah, let me know what you're thinking down below. Those are my current thoughts on the stock. Maybe it continues to go up, or maybe it continues to stay in the 7s, and then I just kick myself for not deploying this capital today. But that's a risk I'm willing to take, as I feel like I did build out a decent sized position on the company. That's it for today. Just a quick one to, you know, get back in the swing of things. I hope you guys have had a good couple weeks, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.